2019. So this Consumer Protection Bill was passed in the Indian Parliament on 6th of August 2019. So it was so only we now have the new Act, Consumer Protection Act of 2019, and it was signed by the President of India, and this replaced the old Consumer Protection Act. Okay, the old Consumer Protection Act, no, 1986, there was a Consumer Protection Act. Please mute yourself, students. இவ்வளோ நாள் ஆன பிறகு கூட you don't have that simple etiquette of how you will attend an online class. Mute yourself. Yo, I don't know who this girl is. Ashwini, what are you doing? You went off to sleep, leaving your phone and unmute. Thank God she left. Ask her not to come back at all. Such a disturbance. So in 2019, this new act was formed, and in that, the old Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was completely replaced. Okay, and this was introduced by the Minister of Consumer Affairs, Mr. Ramvilas Paswan only has introduced the new Consumer Protection Act. Okay, the main thing why this act came into existence was previous act did not include online transactions, but now if you see, mostly we do online transactions and we have online buying, online shopping, and everything. And so, because of that, there was a need where consumers should not be exploited. So, you need to protect the consumers from online shopping transactions and the frauds in that and the exploitation in that. So, in order to include this digital selling and online shopping and include an online customer also, this Consumer Protection Act 2019 was formed. Okay. Mainly it is for, what shall I say, in order to provide safety or in order to safeguard the interests of the consumers who deal online as well as offline. Okay. So, Consumer Protection Act, the new act was formed in order to include include the online shopping portals and online customers and all that into the existing act. So the new act was formed. Okay. So this act, 2019's Consumer Protection Act, will have all the features of Consumer Protection Act 2000 no 1986. Along with that, it will also have the online features. Okay. So that is the major landmark or the major thing of this 2019 Act. Okay. And the previous act was in existence for 3 decades. That is from 1986 till 2019. That act was there, and now it is now this new act is formed. Okay. Just give me 1 minute, students. I'll be back. So now, what is the meaning of this act? This act was formed in order to protect the interest of the consumers. And you know that there are so many consumer cases pending. like civil cases and all in the court, it is pending. So only this Consumer Protection Act itself had come into existence, because they didn't want to include, or they didn't want to delay the settlement of the cases, since there was already lots of cases. So they had a separate for consumer protection. So because there was a large number of pending consumer complaints across the city, so this across the country, this new Consumer Protection Act was formed. Okay, so speedy resolving of complaints. For that only this act was framed. Okay, and the aim of Consumer Protection Act is to save the rights of the consumers. So first thing you should understand is the consumers should not be exploited by the seller. Their money should not be spent in vain. So the Consumers Protection Act will help them to solve any complaints or anything relating to that, and timely and effective settlement of consumer disputes. So the consumers' disputes or the consumers' grievances must be solved at a short period of time itself. It should not take like 15 years or 20 years to solve one consumer complaint. Okay, so in order to make sure that timely and effective settlement of complaints will be undertaken, for that also this Consumer Protection Act was formed. And when I say about the rights of the consumers, there are many rights. In from the exam point of view, this is a very important essay. You have so many different rights that a consumer has, and those rights can be one important essay which can be asked in your end of semester exam or your CA exam, okay, whatever it is. So the rights of the consumers is also of safeguarded because of this new Consumer Protection Act. So what are the benefits? In bullet points, if you want to say, the benefits are, first one is the objectives of the acts are, the first one is public benefit. Okay, in order to see, public benefit means to benefit any customer. That's all. Okay, any customer who has a grievance, any customers whose need is not satisfied, whose money is just taken away, or customer who's exploited. For his benefit only, this whole act was done. And then to provide remedy. So let me assume that I have bought a dress. Okay, I have bought a dress for 500 rupees. Now my money is spent, and when I get that dress, maybe the dress does not, what shall I say, does not match with what I have ordered. Then in that case, my 500 rupees, I have to get it back. No, so I have to get the remedy for the money that I've spent. So for that also, this act will help you. And then to educate the customer about his rights, and to make him recognize his rights, to make him know that these are his rights, he can exercise, and he is entitled to these rights. So for that also, this act was formed. And then cheap remedy means, don't think it is sorry, 500 rupees, if I am spending, I'll get 50 rupees back. It is not that cheap. Cheap remedy means without spending much money, the consumer can file a case and the consumer can get back his money. So, what shall I say? Without spending much money, without incurring more cost, he can get a remedy. That is only cheap remedy. And then it is a special machinery, because this Consumer Protection Act and the redressal forums and the commissions, the state commission, national commission, district commission, all these are exclusively for Consumer Protection Act and consumers' rights only. No other case will come under this. That is, no civil case or no criminal case. All that will not come under this act. So this act is a special act only for customer and his grievance and his remedy. Okay, and in this there are no complicated proceedings. There's no complicated proceedings. Easier he can, what shall I say? Easier he can get this, file his complaint and get a thing done easily. Okay, so that is these are the objectives of the act. So now we will see in what way the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is different from Consumer Protection Act of 1986. So, what are the new additions to the act which makes this unique? Okay, which was needed at this at this time of the hour, this was needed. So, what are those important changes that have been mentioned in the new act? The first thing is the definition of consumer itself is widened now. Okay. Previously, consumer was referred to a person who bought directly from a shop. Okay. But now, even the online transactions, electronic means, tele shopping, multi level marketing, everything is included in Consumer Protection Act now. Okay. Not the direct selling, direct purchase alone, direct customer alone is not included. It is in everything else. All online and offline transactions are included in the realm of Consumer Protection Act. Okay, so this includes online, offline transactions, electronic transactions, tele shopping, direct selling. Direct selling is like where we go and buy, or salesman is coming and selling to you, like that. And even multi-level marketing like Amway products, and all those are also included in this definition of consumer. Okay, and the second difference is the 1 minute, students. Hmm. Second thing is territorial jurisdiction, where the consumer now provides an added advantage by providing for filing of complaints, resigns, or yeah. See, previously and all, uh, if I am a customer, like let me assume that I am buying eggs from a shop nearby, and then the eggs are rotten, the eggs are decayed, it is not good. So I can file a case against the shopkeeper. Okay, I can file a case against the shopkeeper. What I can do is he's running the business. So on him, I'm filing the complaint. This was the case prior to 2019. That is from 1986 to 2019. This was the case. I can file the case against the shopkeeper. But now I can file a case against any person who's not the businessman. Okay, I can see. Let me assume that I am a person working. I am a professor. Now, my side hobby is to sell. Maybe my pastime or my side business is to sell something. So, previously and all, you cannot file a case against me because I am not a business person. But now you can file a case against me also. So, any person who's involved in multi level marketing, though his main business is not selling things, he is working for something else and someone else, but sidely he's doing this business, even then you can file a case against this person. Second thing you should understand is even a person who's working in the shop, who he is not the owner of the shop, but he is in the discretion of a manager. Maybe he only decides what is to be bought and what is to be sold. Then you can even file a case against that manager. The manager cannot say that I am only working for money here. I am not a business person. I am not the owner of the business. The manager cannot say. So you can even file a case against the manager. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when I in this new Consumer Protection Act of 2019, in the new act, you can file a case or you can complain against the owner of a business or an individual person who's working for something else. So any person whom you bought from, you can complain on. Okay, so that is the so two major differences, two main things they have included in this new act. One is they included online transactions as well as offline transactions, so everything is included. Second thing is not only the owner of the business can be challenged here, even the person who's working there or even any other person from whom you bought the product can be challenged. Okay. So now who is a consumer? As per the Act, who is the consumer? As per the Act, a person is called a consumer who avails the services or buys any goods for self-use. For to mention that if a person buys any goods or avail any service for resale or commercial purpose, is not considered a consumer. Okay. So the definition is very clear. A person who buys or makes use of any service for self use. He must use. Self use means like my father can buy for me, other for household use. It is not for resale. Okay. So self use means only if your father buys only for him another self use, not that. For household consumption, if he is buying, then he is a consumer. But if he is buying something for selling it again to someone else, then he is not a consumer. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Let me assume that I am buying 2 kgs of onion. 2 kgs of onions, and I am using it, I am keeping it in my fridge or in my kitchen so that I can use it for my, what shall I say, um, cooking, day to day cooking. I can use it. So in that case, I am a consumer. But let me assume that I am buying 2 kgs of onions and I am going to sell this 2 kgs of onions to my neighbor, saying that maybe that person could not go to the market, so she is buying. Okay, do you understand? So I am going to sell it to her. I am not going to give it as a help. Okay, okay, you could not come to the market, so I bought it for you. Not like that. I'm going to stock these onions in my home. So whenever my neighbor is going to ask, I'm going to sell it to her. Sell it to her for money. In that case, I will not be a consumer. So only for my own use, not for the use of reselling. So only for my own use, if I buy, I am a consumer. Okay, and when I say buying, I may buy a product. I may avail a service also. So service also is a when you buy a service also you become a consumer. Like parlor service. Okay, so I am going to a parlor. I am doing facial for myself, or I am doing pedicure or manicure for myself. Then I become a parlor customer. Okay, I become a consumer for the parlor services because I am availing those services and I am paying money for it. Okay, and as usual, consumer will be a consumer who buys online or who buys offline. So both can be included in the definition of a consumer. Okay, so in according to the act, if you want to write, so if they ask you define a consumer, who is a consumer? No, they are not asking, but if they are going to ask you define a consumer, then you have to define it as per the act. So according to section 2(7), in that D, consumer means. Do you understand? So 2 subsection 7 and subsection D. According to that section, who is a consumer? I'll go one by one. I think I have already explained to you in business law that whenever you are understanding a definition, you have to go part by part and understand each part. And if you explain each part properly, that itself will give you the answer for the features of that particular thing or the characteristics of that particular thing. So let us first go to the definition part by part. Okay. So who is a consumer? A consumer buys goods for a consideration. First of all, for a consideration. So you all know what is consideration. Can anybody tell me what is consideration?
Something
Getting
in
something
return, ma'am.
written.
Very good, very good. So getting something in return or paying something in return. You're getting a product, so you're going to pay something in return. So that can be paid, or it can be promised to be paid, or it can be partly paid, or it can be partly promised, or it can be on deferred payment basis. Deferred payment will be you buy now, pay later. So your EMI and all that loan system, installment system, all that will be deferred payment systems. Okay. So first thing that this definition talks about is the consideration. So here the consideration is price, money, price. Okay. At my price can be something. It can be even 1 rupee, it can be 10 rupees, it can be 1 crore rupee, it can be anything. Okay. So consideration is the first thing. And the consideration may be paid now or paid later or paid half now, paid half later. All that is possible. Okay. That's the first point, consideration. Second one, it includes the user of such goods other than the person who buys the goods for consideration when such use is made with the approval of such person. So this person must use it himself. He must not let or give permission for someone else's use, or he must not sell it to someone else. Okay, so it does not in he can see. Let me assume that I buy it, and then I give you the permission for using it. If I give you the permission for using it, you are not the customer. I am only the customer because I only bought the product. Let me assume that I have a car and I give it to you, saying maybe I give it to this Ashwini who left. Okay, so I give it to Ashwini, saying that okay, you enjoy the car for some days, and then you give it back to me. So in that case, who is the customer? Am I the customer, or is Ashwini the customer? Who is the customer? Come on, answer, students.
Ashwini.
No, Ashwini is not a customer. I only bought the product. No,
No, you
I
are the
have.
customer, ma'am.
Yeah, I paid the money, so I have paid the consideration. I have simply let her use it, but she can simply use it, but she's not the owner of the product. So then she's not the customer. No, I am only the customer. So I so the person who pays the price or the person who pays the consideration is a customer, and it does not include a person who obtains such goods for resale. So I shouldn't have bought the goods for the objective of resale or for any other commercial purpose. Even for letting out, I should not use. Even for hiring, I should not use. Okay. So a consumer is a person who uses the product. So the second part in the consumer is he avails or hires any service for which he has paid or he has not paid or he is paying deferred payment, like whatever it is. And that is, see, the both the things, no, subdivision one and two are the same. One is for tangible products, goods say he's buying. Second one is for availing any service. So second one is for the service, rented or rental service or hiring service or a transport service or whatever service. Okay, do you understand? So both the things, both when only when you write both, the definition is complete. See, normally, in law, every point is given elaborately so that nobody should escape through the loopholes. So simple point சொல்றது கூட they will twist and turn and they will elaborate it and write it long and then say. That is the definition here. But actual, a simple definition is this only. A person who buys any goods or avails any service for self-use, not for the use of resale. This is only the actual definition. But according to the Act, if you see, they have given it in such a huge sentence, but it means the same. The first part talks about the goods, the second part talks about the service availed. Okay. Any doubts, students, in this?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now we will go on to section 2.8, which is consumer dispute. So consumer dispute is where the person against whom a complaint has been made denies or disputes the allegations contained in the complaint. So, consumer dispute is not a complaint. Okay. Complaint is different, consumer dispute is different. I'll explain it to you with an example. Let me assume that I am buying a headset from Chroma. Okay, I am buying a headset from Chroma. Now that headset is not working, and I have already taken all the means. I have already gone to the shop. I have told, see, this is within the warranty, or you said so much of guarantee. I bought it only yesterday. Now it is not working. All that I'm saying. But then this fellow is not listening. So I want to go through the Consumer Protection Act. I want to go legally and I want to file a complaint. So I file a complaint saying I bought this product headset on this date and I bought it for so much of rupees. The guarantee given was this. And the complaint is this. It is a complaint. When the buyer has filed a complaint, it is called a complaint. Now, Chroma person has reacted to the complaint. Okay, so from the court he will get a notice, no? He will get a notice saying, இது மாதிரி உங்க மேல இப்படி ஒரு complaint வந்திருக்கு. Such a complaint has come on you. So what do you say? Now, if Chroma is going to say something against it, saying that no, I will not accept such a complaint. These allegations are false. இதெல்லாம் not true. அந்த மாதிரி if he is going to contradict to the complaint, then it is called the consumer dispute. If that fellow is going to agree, oh, sorry, mistake is on my part only, I will replace him, na, there is no dispute. There is a complaint, but no dispute. When this fellow does not agree only, a dispute arises. After that only, legally, everything on the court of law way, it comes into work. Okay, it comes into play. Okay, do you understand, students? So consumer disputed, if I am going to ask you what is a consumer dispute, don't say that it is a complaint. It's not a complaint. When a complaint is raised and the person against whom the complaint is made, that person is not accepting the allegations and he is saying, he's denying the thing, then it is called a dispute. Okay. Now we will see what is misleading advertisements, and with that we will stop. So misleading advertisements are explained in section under section 228. See, normally in any act, section 2 will be the definitions involved in the act, like Consumer Protection Act, na, consumer order definition, dispute order definition, all that. If it is sale of goods act, na, say goods definition will be in section 2. Brokerage means like if it is a contract of agency, then who's an agent will